Hey guys, Kelley Leger here with Set Life and my guest today, Jesse GrothOlson.
You're watching Set Life Season 4.
So we're just going to start talking?
That's a podcast. Yeah.
Podcast is when we start talking.
That's what we...
So welcome to Set Life. And as you can see, I have a comedian here today, Jesse GrothOlson, my friend. And yes, that is how we open up today.
That's great.
And I'm Kelley Leger, as you know, and this is Set Life. So I have known Jesse for, I don't know how long now.
Boy, has it been a year since then? I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe a year and a half or so.
Nah.
No.
Let's just say a year.
Let's just say a year. Not push it. Okay. Jesse is, I have loved Jesse since the moment that I heard about him because he is a writer and a great writer.
Thank you.
You were initially at a writing retreat.
Yes.
With my cousins who own an awesome little advertising agency,
Yes.
Gravity Digital.
Yep.
I loved this writing retreat because it is the essence of what I believe in. I'm sure what we're going to talk about today, and it is collaboration.
Yeah.
And so the idea of this retreat was they're bringing all these writers to work on a project.
Yep.
And whoever has the best idea wins the day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I'd in the competitive spirit of me was like, well, obviously I have to win.
I have to win
at funny. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. No, it was a cool idea that they'd sort of pitched me on. They're like, hey, we want to do this. We got this client and we want a really great product. So we want to bring a bunch of people together. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, a writer's room has existed for ages, right? Writers helping each other get better and all that. And what I liked was like, we all started together and we worked together and we were talking through the client and the needs and what's the call to action, what's the goal, who's the audience, all that stuff, everything writers need to know. And then we all just kind of wandered off on our own and just wrote a bunch of stuff. And the idea
So
was...
they gave you the framework.
Gave us the framework.
Okay.
Well, sort of like, but gave us the goals.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then it was like, now, whatever wackadoodle angle you can come at this from. And so we were all like, all right, well, we're not going to just write one. We're going to like sort of internally brainstorm and come up with a bunch of ideas. And so I don't know, I came up with a bunch of ideas and I was like, well, these are like my three favorites. So then I just sort of wrote those out. And we all stayed up late. And then the next morning we all pitched to each other our ideas. And then yeah, we kind of just voted, in as much as like, when I was growing up, I had two younger brothers and my mom, my dad, and my dad was like, yeah, it's absolutely a democracy. Each kid gets one vote. Mom gets 4 and I get 8. And it was like, oh, okay, right. So, but no, we all pitched each other our ideas and just sort of through consensus, we're like, oh, these are the ones. And I felt great. They picked one of my ideas. And then, I think the pure hubris would be like, and then it was over and we just did my thing, right? But it wasn't that. It was like, okay, well, now let's fix it, right? And I liked that. I liked that idea of like, oh, yeah, I had this germ of an idea and I had this sort of thing in my head, but like, boy, the ideas that other people could come up with riffing off of my idea. And I think that's what I like is that idea of a riff, right? Because like every good idea is on the back end of a bad idea. And so it's like, well, let's all have our bad ideas and then see who like that's going to inspire something in someone else to have a good idea. And so, so we sort of as a group were able to come together and get it fixed. And
I love that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I mean, me and my wife yesterday were just sitting there writing. I was telling you, we were sitting in 2 lawn chairs in our driveway.
Love it.
On a pretty day. Yeah. And literally, I felt like I didn't need to. We've done it so long together, but I kept prefacing my bad idea with like, now this is just an idea. This is just an idea.
Yeah.
But it would always spin off. You have to let yourself be able to do that.
You're playing.
Yes.
Right. You're just playing with an idea. I love the idea of play because if you tell a room full of kids like, hey, go play, they're like, oh, yes. And they take off and they're gone.
That's true.
Right. And there's no like, you tell a room full of adults like, all right, everybody, it's time to play. Yeah, well, play what? What are we doing? And to what? And how long? And I've got this thing, right? And it's like, I need to take my fiber. And you're like, okay, what are you doing? Like, just free form, just let the ideas come and let that sort of unfilteredness, like we got to have filters. That's how society works. But to be able to enter a mind space or a space where there aren't filters, right? And you're like, oh, and then this leads to this, and then eventually you can get to a great idea.
I
think it's fun.
I love it. Okay, so So just a little more on you, Jesse. So currently you are the marketing director.
Yep.
Over at 80 Players.
Yep. 80 Players at the George Theater. I'm the marketing director. I've been there for a little over 2.5 years now.
Okay.
Before that, I was full-time professor at Houston Christian University, used to be Houston Baptist University, HCU. I was a professor there in the film department for about 9 years full-time.
Wow.
Teaching young budding minds and the others about filmmaking. And really the focus of our department was storytelling. Because at the heart of everything, like you can have the best camera, the best actors, the best everything, but if your story is no good, then it doesn't matter.
Sure.
So story was always sort of the heartbeat of what we taught. And then my buddy Josh Sikora, who founded the department a year before I came out, we had talked even before he came out to start it. He had the idea and had been pitched on starting a department, and he came to me and he said, if you could take a class that you didn't get to take in all your schooling that you think would have helped you work professionally in film, what would it be? And I thought for a long time, because I was like, yeah, that's a great question. I thought the hardest part about I think this kind of art form is the collaboration, is having to bring your best to a space, but also leave space for other people, right? And so I said, I think it's the collaborating and then just that sort of creative problem solving.
Huge.
Yeah, super huge, right? And so that's what it was for a couple of years. And then we realized the more I taught the class, the more I sort of became familiar with it. I had a colleague, Dr. Phil Talon, he told me, he said, you don't really know what you're doing with a class until you've taught it 3 times. And I was like, oh, that's so true, right? And so by the 3rd time I taught collab, I was like, it's actually collaboration and communication. And that's what it is, right? It's how to work with others, but also how to communicate in that space effectively, right? Because we can all communicate, and that's fine.
Right.
When I pitched the class to parents, at a recruiting weekend, I'd be like, all right, show of hands in here, like who's been in a part of a group project where not everybody pulled their own weight, and a bunch of hands go up. And I was like, yeah, of course, obviously, right? And I said, and if your hand didn't go up, it was you, right? Like you were the problem. You were the one who wasn't pulling your own weight on this deal. But that's sort of the nature of the course. And so it's taking these 18 to 22-year-olds who have, the way education is set up today, never really been given an opportunity to fail. And then to put them in a pressure cooker situation where I don't give them enough information, I don't give them enough time, and then I put them in groups that I build based on their personality types specifically to not work. So it's like, good luck.
Right.
And really the point of the course is quit trying to play the education game, quit trying to get the points, quit trying to figure out how I grade, and just do the work.
Right.
Just work with each other. Just try to make a good product.
Right.
So what I do is they don't do anything alone. Everything is done in groups, every quiz, every assignment, every test. And then they have these big group projects throughout the semester that they all fail because 50% of the grade is perfection. And so, so it's the class is designed so that for most of the semester, you will have an F in the class.
This right here is a good teacher.
Thank you.
I'm just saying, because most of I would not say that I was necessarily the best learner in school.
Sure.
Not because I was a terrible learner.
Right.
I didn't learn that way.
Yeah.
And so, it was, everything's so trained us to learn here and be good testers.
Yes, right. They'll go, this is a hoop. Here's how you jump through it here. And then you jump through it and they're like, you did great. Here's an A.
Right.
And I'm like, I start the class with what's a hoop?
Right.
Right. You should go get one.
Right.
You should find one. You should, make one, build one, buy one, whatever you got to do. Go steal one, but put it back when you're done.
When I was, and I want you to keep going.
Yeah.
When I was in film school, I did not go to in NYU or film school out in California. I did. It was in New York, but I was at the New York Film Academy.
That's great.
And so it was very different. It was a summer. So I was there in Manhattan for a summer, and I loved it. One of the best summers of my life.
That's great.
But on day one, they had a 16 millimeter film camera in my hand in a park, and I was learning how to read a light meter from day one.
Yeah, 100%.
And it was like, I loved it. That's how I learned. That's what I needed. 3
Hands-on.
months, I probably got more than I would have gotten in 4 years. Maybe I didn't get all the theory, but eventually I did get it. But it was on my own terms. You know, it wasn't like this.
Yeah, this is such a weird industry because you either can go to school or not go to school and have the same career trajectory.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, I mean, so I bet if you took every Oscar winner and split it down the middle and you're like, oh, probably half went to school, half didn't.
Totally.
Right? My sales pitch, mostly to parents, was like, do they have to go here to work? Absolutely not. Right. And that always puts a parent on the like, wait, what? You're telling me I don't need to send my kid here? Like, what a weird recruiting tactic. But I would say we're going to take 10 years of hard knocks learning and squeeze it into 4.
So good.
Right? Like, that's all we're doing. We're just speeding up the process. We're guiding, we're directing, we're helping them go like, oh, this is what it means. This is why you have to do that.
Wow.
And that to me was the point of film school.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I mean, I'm like, now, if I had a teacher like you going into it, that's something I would have pursued.
Yeah. Well, you and I can both look at that and say that now, being the age we are and knowing what we know, right? But someone who's 18 and doesn't know, sometimes they come in and they're like, oh, whatever, right? They're still in like school mode.
That's true.
So I kind of refuse to call anything homework because the minute you call it homework, it's up for grabs. You can do it, you could not do it. It's up to you, right? And I'm like, well, stop doing homework.
Right.
Just start making films, start doing projects,
Right.
Start making stuff that you want to make, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah, you could do the bare minimum to get the grade you think you need, or you could just take it seriously and just make something.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So it's easy now for us to go like, oh, that'd be so great.
You're
That's why I teach that way.
You're right. Yeah.
But I'm still just a professor.
Right.
Right. I'm still just a teacher. So, but what I have found is, and this is where we sort of found this as a department at one point, we're like, hey, where are we succeeding? Where are the students succeeding? And how do we push what we're doing more in those 2 directions? And hands down, it's hands-on.
Wow.
Right. So it's like, well, then let's just do more projects.
Yeah.
Let's make more classes project-based. Let's make more things work around a hot set because you'll learn more on a hot set than you would if I just blathered at you for 6 months.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the entire, like, so when you're teaching collaboration and now communication, that it's always in the context of set.
That class in particular is not, but all of our like introduction and all
Okay.
our production classes, directing, cinematography, all that,
Okay,
it's
okay.
usually all in that context of the set.
Okay.
You do have to have some theory, right? We have an intro class where it's like, let's teach you this whole new language that we
Right.
speak on set.
Right.
Right. So if I'm like, I need you to fly in a lollipop and a pancake and I
Right.
need a 4x4 floppy,
Right.
and kids are like, speak English. And I'm like, I really just did. You don't know it yet, but I just did. So we do have some of those things. There are some things you just have to try to pound
true.
into your head.
Yes.
But no, everything else we try to as much as possible within the context of a set. So collab, what I do that's different is I kind of turn the idea of a class on its ear. So for example, just last week actually, and it just happened to be on April Fool's Day, which was fantastic. I had a lecture prepared. And I had slides to just go. It meets once a week. It's 2.5 hours. And I was ready to rock and roll. I also had a surprise assignment show up on their like digital classroom once class had already started. And it was like, hey, you need to get with this many people. You need to work on a logo for the class. And it has to be a logo that everyone in the class agrees on. And it's due before class is over. And the whole point was, are they going to ask for what they need in order to accomplish this assignment? What they need is for me to shut up and let them work as groups and do this thing. And so eventually a kid raised his hand and he's like, can we actually have time to work on this? And I was like, oh, yes, thank you. I thought you'd never ask.
Wow.
The whole point, like, interrupt me. Stop what is happening so that you can do what you need in order to do the assignment.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so they're always a little cagey because they're like, we don't know what to expect. I'm like, good. That's what every set is.
Yeah.
You don't come in and you're like, there's roles and there's responsibilities and there's the right way to set up some equipment for sure. But there's no manual. There's no
Right.
handbook for how to shoot a Toyota commercial. There's no, it's like you kind of have to figure it out as you go. And so getting them to break the idea of this is a class and get into the idea of like, well, this is what it's going to be like in the real world.
Right.
So trying as much as I can. Now there are some days, I have a week called the challenge week where they should never know what I'm trying to do until it's all done. Because if you come head on to someone to teach them something, they're going to be like, okay, I'm going to try to reinterpret this. I already know the context for this. I've had teachers before. I've done this before. I have to sort of teach you from the side. So they come into class. I just hand out these sheets that have like just a punch list of things that we need. And it's like building materials, it's catering, it's a location, it's all this stuff. And I just start a timer. And it's for 45 minutes. And I was like, right, you have 45 minutes. I need all this answered. I said for the last 15 minutes, or no, for the last 10 minutes, it has to be absolutely silent. You cannot talk to each other. And they're like, oh, okay. So they get going, right? And there's stuff on this list that they don't know. So I put like 680 LF, 2x2, 16 gauge steel. And they're like, what's LF? I'm like, yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Good luck. And then 15 minutes before the time is done, I hand out new sheets. I go, hey, there's changes. So now like we change the kinds of screws, we change the number of people, we add that there's a vegan, and we add that there's everything changes. And then, okay, in 5 minutes, then they have to be quiet. So it's dead silent. And then for the last 5 minutes, I just play rock music as loud as possible. And then when it's all done, I go, okay, what was your total number? And they're like, oh, we had to know the number? I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why would I give you this if I didn't need to know the price? And so the group with the lowest total number wins. And they're just, so they're so stressed. They're so confused. Like, what the heck is this? And I go, congratulations. You just had your first day as a PA, except I wrote everything down for you.
It's brilliant.
Right.
Man.
But someone's going to come to you and they're going to say like, hey, I need 600 linear feet of 2x2 16 gauge steel. And they're going to be like, figure it out. Google it, right? What do you got to do?
That's it.
And then it's going to change. It's going to change. The only thing constant is change. And then you're going to be quiet on set. And then whatever we're filming is going to be super annoying and loud.
Yep.
And you still have to focus into your job. It's like, this is what it's like to be a PA.
Totally.
So yeah.
Ever changing, last minute changes,
Pure chaos.
nonstop.
Yes.
Working in chaos. And you said, and I remember you saying this, that initially the class that you teach used to be collaboration and problem solving.
Yes.
But it was better to call it not problem solving, but communication.
Yes. And in fact, I just saw a meme this week that I was like, oh, I have to change everything, because communication isn't so important so much as like understanding.
Mm.
Like I can communicate to you.
Right.
But until like we are on the same page.
Right.
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 So it is like effective communication.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about working together. And so like, you know, I've got all these little catchphrases and slogans and things that I throw out all semester, and they just get so sick of hearing it. And I'm like, well, if you would start doing it, I could stop saying it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah. But like sort of the key thing is like know who's in charge.
Right.
You have to know who's in charge, because like if you're not in charge, then stop worrying about the stuff that's not yours to worry about.
Right.
Right. You know, it's the art department person who's like, well, if I was directing, I would do it different. You're like, yeah, but you're not.
Right.
Someday when you are, then you can do it different.
Right.
But for today, you have to do this part, right?
Yes.
And the chain of command is not a chain that I use to beat you with.
Right.
It's there to protect you
That's good.
and to keep you like, oh, yeah, that's weird. I don't know that I would do that way, but like, if it's different, that's something your brain should try to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I wonder why they're doing it that way. I wonder what the benefits of that are.
Right.
And just observe and learn from observing.
So good.
But do your thing.
Right.
Right. Be the good teammate. Be the good team player and stay in your lane and know like someday when it's your turn, yeah, you will get to. But there's benefit, there's beauty in knowing who's in charge.
Right.
Right. And some people want to be in charge just for the sake of being in charge.
Right.
They won't be there long.
Right.
Just
True.
right. Just
It's
chill.
true.
They won't be there long.
Right. Right.
They might be there now. They might be there for this project, but like they won't be there long.
You're right. No, you're right.
Yeah. The people who are good at that will eventually rise to the top. And so you don't have to worry about that.
All right. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You were going to give me 5 tips.
Yes.
For collaboration, communication. What would those 5 tips be?
Yes. And I will now look at what I wrote.
See how I tried to make that so spontaneous and
Yeah, and I just rolled with it so good. I'm an improviser. I'm sure you picked that up. Yeah, so truly like the number one thing is like know who's in charge. And if it's you, do a good job. If it's not you, then let the person who's in charge be in charge.
Yep.
And I always say too, like, if I'm not in charge, then I'm going to be the kind of support person I want
There you go.
when I'm in charge.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So know who's in charge. Number 2 is get what you need to be successful. Right. The most, what was it? The most effective but least useful words in Hollywood are just make it happen.
Mm.
Right. Like, I don't like,
Mm-hmm.
I need you to tell that construction crew to stop. I have a friend who told me this same story. They were shooting at Hollywood and Highland, and they were doing this Man on the Street show. And literally, as they were about to roll, this LA Department of Water shows up, and they start jackhammering. And the director's like, "Go tell them to stop." And he's like, "How do you do that, right?" And he said, I don't care, just make it happen. And he couldn't do it. And he was like, I walked over it. I didn't even know how to start. I didn't know what to say. And so he went back, and the director's like, why do I still hear that? And he's like, I don't know. I couldn't do it. And so the director went over, and 5 minutes later, jackhammering stopped, and he come over and he's like, all right, let's roll. And so it's like, just make it happen. Just figure out what's the way without, breaking the law or whatever. But like, just what do you need? What do you actually need? And that's sort of one of those problem solving things is like, okay, I need that guy to stop doing that thing. Okay, but what do you actually need? You actually need quiet.
Right.
Okay, well, does he have to change out the bit? Do they take a lunch? When is this? Like, there's 1,000 ways for you to try to figure out how to get that. But but most of us are stopped by ourselves.
True.
We say no for the other person.
Right.
So it's like, well, do you have what you need? No. Then go get it. Somehow, some way, right?
Right.
So that's number 2. Like, just get what you need to be successful. And then real smooth. I think the third thing has a lot more to do with collaboration, because we know about compromise, and compromise is when both parties give up something to meet in the middle. But I think collaboration is when both parties get.
That's good.
Instead of both losing, you should both win.
Yeah.
And the way that we're going to do that is not going to be your way. And it's not going to be my way, but there's a third way that we can find. And it's finding that third way that allows us to both get what we want.
Yes.
Right? The way to do that is to own your slice, I say. So like if there's a pie chart of like whose fault it is, even if my slice is this tiny 1% slice, if I own that, if I go, well, I really wasn't super clear when I asked you to do that thing. Right. I can see where you didn't understand that there was a deadline and that was timely.
Right.
Man, that de-escalates everything. Right? So the person who's now been exposed, is feeling defensive,
exactly,
came from a broken home, whatever things they're bringing into this tense situation. If I just own my slice and go, I should have been clear about that. That's I apologize. Everything de-escalates, and you can start to work together again.
Super good.
Right? So I think owning your slice is a big one.
I love it.
Part of this class is the students take 9 different personality assessments through the semester. So it's like they learn their Myers-Briggs, they learn all these things. I talk about birth order, I talk about all these things. And the point of this is not for me to learn more about you so that I can control you.
Right.
It's to learn more about me so that I can adapt to be a better teammate. Right? It's like when someone's like, well, I'm this kind of personality, so you have to do this for me. I was like, oh, you're doing it wrong. Right? It's like, I'm this kind of personality, so I will have a tendency to steamroll, and I'm a firstborn, and I'm an ENFP, and I'm a lion, and all these things. So it's like, okay, I need to then make sure that I am intentionally making space for other people.
Right.
Because our biggest frustrations and where we want to lay the blame is on other people, which is wild. Right. Because we have no control over other people. Right. And so the thing that I always say is always like, the only person you can control is you. Yep. So if the situation is bad, if the other person's a total jerk, a total diva, a total whatever, okay. Right. You're not going to change them. Right. Right. Their partner hasn't. Why do you think you're going to change them? Right. 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 So all you can control is you. Right. Okay. So whatever you got to do, take a different perspective, try to take their point of view, whatever you have to do, but don't try to control them. Just control you. Yeah. And that's going to help. If everyone was doing that, the collaboration would go so smooth. Totally. Right. No, because everyone's just taking care of their own thing.
Yep. Absolutely. Love that.
Number 5, and I think it should go without saying. And I think for some people it does go without saying, but do your best. And that's kind of a weird thing because like I grew up like, of course you're going to do your best. You have no other choice. Like that's what you have to do. But it gets real easy for us sometimes in a certain situation where you're like, oh, it's just a commercial. It's just a one-day gig.
Right.
It's just a whatever, right? I worked on a reality show on Discovery Science called Catch It, Keep It. And I was desperate for work, and a buddy of mine was one of the APs, and he's like, I don't really have anything for you. He's like, I got PA work on the off days when we're not shooting. I was like, great, I'll take it.
Right.
I'll take it. I'll do whatever. And I was like, look, I know I'm more than a PA, but I'm going to do my best as a PA. I'm going to be the best kick butt PA they've ever had. And it worked. It worked because the construction manager was a total jerk and it's just mean to everybody and all this stuff. And one day I had to cut a bunch of wire and I was looking for some good wire cutters. And I saw like there was this off-brand wire cutters that was like the show sponsor. So I'm not going to say who it was. But I was like, oh, those aren't very good. And then I saw a nice pair. I was like, oh, I'm going to use those. And so I'm over there cutting wire. And this guy comes over and he's like, hey, why are you using my tools? Right. And he's just giving me the whole thing. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like I was just looking for like high quality, really good tools. And you know, so I wanted to use these. I'm sorry, I didn't know those were yours. Like I won't touch them again. And then he was like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, you can use them. Like you know, it was like, you get it.
You get it.
Yeah. And I was just doing my best, even in that bad situation. Right. Cause I could have been like, why are you yelling? Why you gotta be a jerk? Like what, you know?
Yeah. Wrong approach.
No, just do your best. Be your best self.
Wow.
2 weeks later, I had his job.
Wow.
Because people would rather work with someone
So good.
who's trying to be a team player, who's trying to do their best no matter what the situation, than someone who's a jerk. So yeah, so that was my first sort of like massive promotion on a set was that.
Wise.
So do your best.
Good 5 tips.
Thanks.
Good 5 tips.
And I just knew them all off the top of my head.
Yeah,
So
of course.
it's all second nature to me, really. Yeah.
Man, well, Jesse, man, I love having you on here. These times kind of
man.
go by so fast,
Yeah.
and we'll have to do it some more, do it again.
Absolutely.
And all of that stuff. Okay, so Jesse, if people want to get a hold of you, want to stay in contact with you, for just to follow you or to hire you, I don't know. I mean, you got a gig, but
I'm on socials. The nice thing about a weird last name like GrothOlson is like we pretty much have whatever we need on lock. My brothers and I our first names start with J. And so my Instagram is the real JGO, as sort of a snub to both of my brothers.
yes.
And my Instagram is where I put sort of all my photography. I don't really do that professionally. That's just sort of like my hobby where I put that stuff.
Yes.
But then I got a website, JesseGrothOlson.com.
Cool.
So yeah, it's all there. You Google GrothOlson, I will know personally everyone that search brings up.
Okay. This is Set Life. We're here at For the One Studios. If you're looking for a good studio to shoot in, man, this is a great one. We have 4 different studios to shoot in that you can come be a part. We'd love to have you here. And we'll see you next time on Set Life.